it's Steve Gosney.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you? Thank you for spending your lunch hour here.
Yes, well, I can say you're always inviting me to your streams, and it seems like we're always conflicted. But I really thank you for the time and for the invites, and I try to make it when I can. So thankfully,
Yeah,
we finally I got an hour here I could squeeze in. So thank you very
mm,
much.
yeah, much appreciated. David, as my chat might know, is has traveled to Sweden. And tomorrow, me, David, and Baker at the Broken Baker will meet up, and I don't. We will meet up on a small ferry that goes between Helsingborg and Helsingör. It has food and beer, and yeah, we might make some videos and everything, and then at some point they will chase us off that ferry because it's a 20-minute ride. Then it stops for 15 minutes to people to get off and on, and then go back. And then they go back and forth. And that's why they serve both food and beer. So we will be on that ferry for a good number of hours, and then we will see what they will when they throw us off.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so you're going to
amazing.
be seeing the MLS Law Show. I am the intrepid reporter for
Yeah,
MLS Law Show. Did you know he got me a what do you call it? A ticket, or what do they call that?
press.
Press pass.
Yeah, press pass.
So
That's
that's kind of cool. I saw the MLS Law Show has done me well. We'll see how it works out. I don't know. But,
yeah. We will have a great time tomorrow. Uh, yeah, like the stream, or Jodi's gonna stab you. Yeah, don't turn your back on Jodi. What I assume this was from the trial was in end of 2012 and early 2013. It was a highly broadcasted trial. And what do you remember?
well, see, this is the funny thing. I don't even know about this trial. I know nothing about it. And people laugh at me because they're always asking me about these big media cases, right?
Hmm?
And the thing is that my life is these cases. And
Yeah.
so when I come to work, I deal with pretty big cases that are in the media, but also like very in depth and major crimes with all kinds of detail. So when I get off, or when I entertain myself, or when I do something that's other than crime, I am not going and watching a crime stream unless
Yeah.
unless it's something to do with like one of you guys is recently, or
Mm.
but generally I don't watch things or know anything about streams. Now
Mm.
there's exceptions to that, like the two that were here, the Zimmerman trial and the other one, which were in my appellate jurisdiction. So I followed them because I wanted to be aware of what was going on in the trials for appellate reasons. What was it? The one the other female that and the baby in the trunk.
Oh, Letitia Stalk.
No,
No.
it was I forget. Anyway, the chat will probably remind me. So those are ones that I remain, but I actively do not follow trials. So it's interesting, and the other thing is I don't watch like movies or fictionalized accounts of the law, because to me that clouds. Yeah, Casey Anthony, see, they got it. Yeah, because it clouds my view of the way trials should work. I derive all of the way the trial should work from real trial practice and being in front of juries and watching them. And now some people say that may be a negative, because most of the juries and everybody else is aware of the CSI and these crime shows and all that, right? But I don't know. I've made my choice, and mine is to avoid media of any kind of media trials.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to hang your coat up and leave it there.
Right. Well, that's why I'm writing a fantasy novel now, and I'm doing children's books, and I do have my law books and my law stuff. But when I go home, like I'm writing my fantasy novel, I'm just diving in deep into this world that I've created. So it's sort of, and then we watch Project Runway. You ever seen that show?
Yeah, I I haven't seen it in like 15 years or something, like the first few seasons, because my so really, really enjoyed it. And
Yes.
I enjoyed her, so I also watched it.
Yes.
So, but elevator pitch for the Jodi Arias-Trial. Well, Travis Alexander was found in his shower, stabbed 26 times, shot through the head, and blunt force trauma. He was found approximately 5 days after time of death. And there was blood everywhere. Not blood everywhere as in the Zachariah Anderson case, it was actually blood everywhere.
Right. I've seen enough murder scenes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a clear difference between
Yes.
certain murder scenes.
Well, that's
and
why when I saw that Zachariah Anderson case, and I that's one I really didn't follow, except for what you exposed me to a couple others. But my seeing crime scenes, this is just there just wasn't any blood in that crime scene, relative to what you would find if it actually had occurred, if it actually been Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
You would have seen a much different blood situation there, right?
Yeah. And they try to explain it away with, well, he was placed in a rug that was blood soaked. That's why it wasn't enough. But if that rug was that blood soaked, why was there only one pin-sized speck of what might have been blood?
And that is consistent to me with sloppy crime scene, crime scene control, and could be coming from cop to cop, and I'm very suspicious when you showed me the pinpoint and where it was located and all that stuff.
Yeah,
that
made no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and a guy who goes on YouTube, he calls himself Law Kong, and he brought up a really interesting thing that Mr. Junior's his apartment was next to all the mailboxes for the apartment complex, which means that May the 18th was a Monday. People must have received mail right next to the door, and nobody saw blood on the door. Not the mailman, not any of the residents who walked past it all day long. It was the height of the pandemic. You got meals ordered, everything ordered, and nobody saw anything until the 19th. It's so much strange things. But we are here for the Jodi Arias-Trial. And, he was found 5 days later, and no real explanation.
Well, I did review the entire Wikipedia page front to back on Jodi Arias, and because I was thinking I must have maybe I picked something up. It looked like a big media case, but obviously I was out of touch. So I can provide you maybe some legal commentary. You were saying there was ultimately the defense was a self-defense claim, though, right? Yeah. So therefore, you really have to concede that she was the stabber, shooter / killer. The question is whether it was a justifiable use of force or not. Yeah. And that's kind of one of the issues that people don't really realize. Yeah, hey Flux, sorry, I'm standing in for David. David is unavailable. I know that you are expecting him, and I will humbly ask you to watch me for an hour in David's place, understanding that he's your go-to guy. Yeah. But the thing is that this is oftentimes what you'll see in a self-defense case or a trial like this, where self-defense is the defense, is that you have to concede the elements of the crime. Really, you have to say, I was the one that did the stabbing, I'm the one that did the shooting, whatever, everything except that my legal justification was here, because here, from what I understand, she fled and there was a long gap before the fine and all this stuff. So you could say, well, maybe she could say she didn't do it, but you can't say I didn't do it and I have self-defense, right?
And here's the thing, she didn't really fled. She a few days after they found him, she contacted the police because, well, there were long phone calls recorded, interviews with her, hours after hours after hours. And when she herself inserted herself into this, because at the beginning, she had been nowhere near. No. She was on a road trip down to her perhaps boyfriend. And while that, well, then nothing more than. Then she started to call again to the investigators and again. So she started to insert herself. So, of course, they started, okay, who is this broad? So they started to investigate her. And here they did a really thorough job. They found out that she had lent or purchased extra gas tanks, just so she wouldn't be caught filling up her car in the state. So they could calculate, and she was in a rental car, so they could calculate from, okay, here's the mileage when you got the car, and here's the mileage when you gave it back. There are a bunch of miles unaccounted for, a really big number. So they started to calculate that, and once she was brought in for interview, and she was the first interview. Oh, everything not there. Then they started to, well, we found this, we found that, we found this. Then all of a sudden, well, yeah, she was there, but no, he was alive. Then he was killed, but it wasn't me. It was two masked people who did it, and they threatened me because hired killers, for some reason, leaves witnesses, and after that, she lawyered up.
Right. Well, this is again, this is the problem that you see a lot of times, is that here she is trying to avoid culpability and saying, oh, I don't know anything about it, right? And then, and for a period of time. And then, of course, once she realizes the gig is up, then it becomes, oh, I need my lawyer. Now your lawyer's left with this
cluster.
This basically her lying to the police for a long period of time. And a lot of people get convicted just for lying to the police rather than the elements of the crime, because people immediately say, well, you lied, you didn't take. Now I'm trying to create the self-defense thing. It sounds like an after the fact lawyer creation, when it may not be. It may, this is the problem, is sometimes people are afraid, and you don't know why they're saying what they do, but it looks just so bad in front of a jury, and it makes the defense lawyer's life very difficult.
Yeah, and two of the main factors that led the cops is that on the crime scene they found a camera with the chip still in, and when they developed it, they saw pictures of them. They saw pictures of him in the shower, and then they saw a picture of his lifeless body. Probably what happened was that for some reason she still had the camera on her, dropped it, and it showed a photo of somebody dragging Travis' body through that hallway.
Well, did it say that, show that? Are you sure? Because I'm reviewing I've done some preview research because you asked me to come on and comment. From my understanding is that there was a photograph of him in the shower, and then 40 seconds later, there's the photograph of him bloody on the floor of the shower. Yeah. So he was actually killed in the shower. But it's very odd. Like, did she have a camera? Was it a cell phone, or what was because then she took this camera and tried to wash it in a washing machine or something, and we were able to recover So there are photos, and I actually saw the photos, at least somewhat cleaned up. I'm probably for the internet, but very odd. Why would she be photographing like that?
Yeah, and in one of the photos, you saw someone dragging what was the lifeless body of Travis. You also saw a foot and the lower part of um, trainer pants. You know, these Adidas type stripes. And once that picture was shown to to her, she said, "Oh, I have the same type of pants, but those aren't mine." And I'm
Well, see, and this is the thing. Once we get past, because the first thing is, did she do it? Well, if you're
this
claiming
was before.
self-defense,
This is before.
you've conceded that issue.
Mm.
So, you know, that
Yeah.
this is to get
Yeah.
to justifiable use of force, you have to concede that she was the
Yeah.
killer. So
Yeah.
now the question is whether it was legally justified. So then it gets transformed and blown up into a what is it? Abuse, sexual abuse, and all kinds of control.
She claims a lot of things. And,
well, this comes from experts, and I will tell you, fight or flight is a legitimate thing. And this is not, I don't want to discount this defense across the board, because it can be that somebody is so abused and so controlled that they feel trapped, although they are not. And this is why I think a lot of men, especially on the jury, would be less susceptible to accept this, because they would just say, why doesn't she just walk out and leave? But there is this control and trauma that happens in a domestic violence situation. So it's possible. I'm not just saying it's absurd.
But according to every testimony so far, including hers, they were broken up at the time. She moved to another state.
Oh, really? They were broken up?
Yeah.
That hurts it. That hurts the defense quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, and so far during her first days on the stand, they have gone through her previous, all her other ex-boyfriends are still alive. Apparently, that's a good sign. And
he hasn't gotten around to them yet.
And a bit about her upbringing, how she met Travis, how they now in this trial tries to conclude that he forced himself upon her on a few occasions. And Travis is not there to defend himself. Now, we do have testimony that he had several girlfriends, but it seems like because he was a Mormon, so they are not supposed to have intercourse pre-marriage. They were both 26 at the time, and so you would assume they could behave like adults, but apparently not. So Travis seems to be a bit of a player, and more or less it seems that he kept Jodi around because he could have sex.
Now, wasn't there? There was a lot of allegations of sexual. Yeah, God's loophole, broken Baker, funny.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sexual stuff in this trial, which is one of the reasons it was salacious. And somebody asked smash or pass, so I got to look her up and see.
But
there was a lot of sexual stuff that was accused of there in this show.
Yeah, but here she is, and she was a blonde before. Now in trial, she's been dressed very modest, and these glasses that she don't need and stuff like that. So the portrayal of her, the portrayal of her is this innocent little thing that was in the hands of this Travis who did things to her. But me and David, we have more or less, had she not contacted the cops by herself, inserted herself, she might have just gotten away with it.
Well, she is a pretty girl, and I will say that this is another reason that the media, I'm sure, was focused on it. Sex and a pretty girl. And those are very difficult people to get convicted. I know when I was a prosecutor's office, Pretty girls are the hardest ones to convict.
Yeah. And one of the things in the appellate court in 2015 was, in their opinion to the decision to not overturn it, was even though the trial was riddled, quote, riddled with misconduct, it was not enough to overturn the conviction.
Oh, really? What was the prosecutorial misconduct?
Yes.
Oh, I did read some. I thought that was mostly police misconduct, though.
Both, I assume.
Both.
But here's the thing, compared to the recent trial I've been watching, I can't really see much of anything. Yes, he is an angry little guy. Really angry. He screams and shouts at his own witnesses, on the defense witnesses. He is very, very yelly. But maybe
the defense lawyer, or I'm looking at. I can't look up the Jodi Arias nudes. I'm sorry, somebody's asking me this because I'm at work. But maybe I'll make a project when I get home. But the see, this is, and she's a dangerous kind of woman because she's not stunningly beautiful, but she's good looking enough that she can get what she wants. And so she's the kind of woman that she's good looking enough that other women would respect her but not feel threatened by her, is what my guess would be. But I saw there was some attempts by the prosecution to keep women off of the Oh, thank you, Nathan. I'm winning Nathan over. Heart goes out. I'm at my lunch break, and I love Nick. So you're a good man. Thank you. I know. Look, I'm here for David. He's on a plane. He can't be here, so I'm not bumping anybody. So just so you know.
Yeah. But this is her third day on the stand. She will remain there. Direct examination, cross, redirect, and recross for 18 days.
18. Say, I read this also. Now this is crazy. I have no clue. I don't even know what you could say for 18 days. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah,
that is nuts. And I will say that the longest trial, I had a talk with a fellow who was one of our lead trial attorneys in our jurisdiction, our public defender's office. And he's had over 250 jury trials. Now, I've had about a little over 80 jury trials. And between the two of us, we said, have you ever had a trial? Now, this is Florida, and it's a different jurisdictional. We haven't even had a trial go over 5 days. Now, it's like, that is the common trial. Now, and I'm trying to scratch my head. I'm like, how could you even go for that long? That is a big mistake. I don't know what the defense was doing there. Maybe they felt they needed to bore the jury to death. But
I mean, it is not. She is not compelling. And
you get in. What do you want to say? You get in what you want to say, and those stories can be long. You can get into the history, but at some point you need to edit yourself and say, this is not necessary. So I have no clue what they said for 18 days, but to me, that's a mistake. I don't care what is being said. You can say it a lot more concisely.
I'm just going to put in Dave's stream, because me and Dave are dual streaming this. So for you who are at my stream now, go pop over there to press the thumbs up and then get back here. And remember to have the thumbs up here as well. But we are on this day, 1 hour in. She has now described 3 or 4 sexual encounters before they were even dating, after she converted into Mormonism. So she's not, at some points she is very detailed. At some points she is not very detailed. She is, as both me, David, and the chat, she is the original Amber Heard. And Yeah,
So
as
she's she's yeah, and let's just, how to say this correctly, talking sex stuff. I don't know what she's described yet, and that's always interesting to hear about.
yeah,
There's a
loophole.
weaponization of
Mm,
sex
mm,
in our society,
yeah,
and what happens a lot of, like, a woman like this
mm,
will use um like a sadomasochistic relationship. So
mm,
she'll want the masochism to be
mm,
inflicted upon her as a desire. It
mm,
fulfills her fantasies. But then
mm,
on top of that, it gives her a weapon against
mm,
the man. So
yeah,
whenever she gets into a tight spot, she can always pull out, well, you made me do X, Y, and Z, and it was against my will. So the
mm,
fantasy then becomes a weapon.
mm,
And this is a problem in our,
mm,
it fulfills a lot of
mm,
desires within the sexes, but then when you put it into a
mm,
public courtroom, it
mm,
doesn't work. I always talked about this when I was prosecuting cases and defending cases, especially when they had a salacious sexual element to them.
mm,
And I don't know if it was ever effective, but I would tell the jury, anything that you say of a sexual nature in a courtroom will sound cringe. It will be uncomfortable. Even if you say, I had sex with my wife, and you say it in a courtroom setting, it's inappropriate because it's the most hyper formal environment and nobody
mm.
wants to hear this. And so you say, that man had sex with his wife and he stuck his penis in her vagina. I've heard this kind of like condemning thing. And it's
Yeah,
like, well, yes, this is a male,
mm,
female married couple. They're, loving. It's God's gift to man and woman, right? But yet,
mm,
when you put it in this environment, it's so inappropriate that people want to
yeah,
convict just
yeah,
because of the subject matter. So, it's a hard thing to
mm,
manage in a legal
yeah,
way.
yeah. And the defense attorney, who later on, after the trial, was disbarred because he wrote a tell-all book about Jodi Arias. And they apparently didn't get along because she didn't really. Sometimes he really have to pull the answers out of her, and on occasions she gives details all over the place. And then she, for instance, prior to this, they were talking about an instance where I believe the defense were trying to get into that Mr. Alexander forced himself upon her to have vaginal sex. But the way she answered was, well, I woke up when he was inside me, and then we just continued. Then I went down on him. And so I don't think the defense is very pleased with her testimony, because her defense attorney is actively trying to get in that Mr. Alexander continuously forced himself upon her. But when she answers, it's like, not really. So, yeah.
Well, and see, this is the thing. It's this duality and this dichotomy,
Mm,
because she may be asking to be dominated and to be
mm,
abused and to violence. And
mm,
I'll just say that I've dealt with women like this
mm,
in professional and non-professional levels. Let's say that. And but I'm not. It's like, to me, it's a weapon.
mm,
It's a weapon.
mm,
It's just dangerous stuff.
mm.
And here's a good example. Now she's using that knowledge that she has, and it's
Yeah,
truthful thing. Yes, he forced me. He did this, but yet at the time there
yeah,
was a different agreement, right?
mm,
But are
yeah,
you saying that? But she was broken. See, this is where the defense really breaks down. Is if she was broken up with him at the time, she was in a
yeah,
different place. Why is she then in the shower with a knife and a gun, right? And
yeah,
the relationship is over.
yeah, exactly. But let's listen to her and see what she will tell us today.
Yeah, people are
I
telling
remember
me to
where I
Google
stayed,
all
but
this
we
stuff.
hung out in
The
Riverside.
problem is Googling this stuff at work doesn't work.
Eventually,
And I will
there was
say
gonna
some
come
of
a
my
point in time,
Googles, you
Sally,
wouldn't
there came
believe
a
the
point in
stuff
time
that I
when you
have
and
to deal
Travis
with.
were gonna part company, right?
Yes.
And
from what you told us before, this seemingly was going to be the moment in time when you told him you're done, right?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you recall where you were when the two of you were to part ways?
Well, I planned to drop the bomb in Riverside when I was dropping him off at his grandmother's house, and I couldn't get
And
up
I'm
the
playing
courage
this
to
in
go in.
1.25 because they are really drawing everything out.
You say you're at his grandma's house in Riverside, you're dropping him off, and you don't have the courage to tell him.
Yes.
Are you leaving Riverside that day, or do you stay with Mr. Alexander at Riverside?
I'm leaving town and driving back to Big Sur.
Now, I believe earlier you told us that you had met his grandmother 3 times. Is that right?
I think I did meet her 3 times, but I don't remember at that point if that was the second or third time.
Okay. So you're driving back from Riverside to Big Sur, and you never have this confrontation you've been planning to have for about a week, right?
Yeah, more like 2
weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. So what's the plan then as you're driving back to Big Sur? Are you going to call him and break up? You can write him a letter? What's the plan?
I was really mad at
are-
myself.
Those were Travis' family.
I wanted to do it in person, and now I didn't know when I was coming back to Arizona or Southern California when I would see him again physically.
Yeah, Travis was born into Mormonism. So them hearing all about his sexual escapades, yeah, not really what they might have wanted to hear, but it's a trial setting. Trials doesn't really care about your religion.
So at that point, I realized I would have to be on the phone.
Did you ever then have the talk that you were dreading for so
Yes.
long?
Yes.
And that was over the phone?
Yes.
And tell us what you told him.
Well, I said, there's some things I want to talk to you about. And I told him that his phone has been the source of a problem. And
Yeah, she claims she read messages that he was cheating.
And I apologize. I felt really bad for violating his privacy, even though I felt justified because of what I found out. And he was apologetic.
You say he was apologetic. Did you end up breaking up with him after this conversation?
The conversation evolved. His apology was weak, I thought. And I said, in an indirect way, I said, I don't think either of us is ready to be in the kind of relationship that we thought we were having.
Was that then, when you said that, was that really, or this conversation, was that really the end of yourself and Travis as a couple?
As an official couple, yes.
And so you essentially broke up that day over the phone?
Yes, that was our end date, you could say.
Okay. And when was that? Do you remember the exact date or?
Yes, I remember the date. It was June 29th,
Of 2007?
2007.
Now, after you have this breakup on June 29th, 2007, is that the last you heard of Travis Alexander?
No,
How long was it, in terms of days, maybe hours if so, how long was it before you spoke with Mr. Alexander again?
he called me the next morning. He was still in Southern California.
And just so we're clear, you were in Big Sur, right?
I was in Big Sur.
And what was the subject matter of that conversation?
Well, I don't remember how it started. I think he was at his friend's house.
Subject of the conversation.
It's not his objection, Your Honor.
Overruled, restate your question.
You say he called you the next day. Do you know where he was calling you from?
I understood that he was at his friend's house, Chris and Sky's house in Southern California.
And Was he wanting to get together with you? Was he wanting to continue the conversation? Tell us the subject matter of the conversation.
At first, it was about what he was doing there, so that's why I figured he was there. And then we didn't continue the conversation from before. It was a lot less dramatic. And I don't know what room he had holed himself up in, but the conversation began to turn sexual. And
What do you mean sexual?
well, he began to just say things like he's been horny lately and
It's not being offered for the Fifth Amendment, Judge.
Approach.
Yeah. There's a lot. She can't really stop herself from saying what Travis said, and then immediately hearsay. And then the reply is not for the truth of the matter. And then there are at the podium, which is somewhat correct.
Well, that is, except here's the problem, and boy, I deal with this all the time in appeals, is that your constitutional right to present a defense is greater than any evidentiary rule. So even if it may be violative of the evidentiary rule of hearsay, the judge needs to be very careful that he doesn't disallow evidence that interferes with the defense's right to present their defense, because Constitution is greater than evidentiary rules.
Yeah, and for what I've seen so far in this trial, and David agrees, is this judge is doing a hell of a good job so far, at least. And as soon as we are done watching the trial, we do this every Tuesday and Saturday. Shorter time on Tuesdays, and then we will have a longer stream on Saturdays. Once the trial is done, sometime next year, David will try to contact the judge for an interview about what she remembers,
You
because
said
she retired
that
last year.
the conversation was sexual in nature, this day after you broke up, right?
yes,
When you say sexual in nature, that can mean a lot of things. So I want to clarify that a little bit. Was he talking about the two of you engaging in sexual behavior?
yes,
Did he talk about specific acts that he wanted to engage in with you?
I don't remember specifically. I just remember it was sexual, the things he was saying.
And you remember it related to the two of you interacting, right?
Somewhat, I was on the phone, but I was out in the gravel driveway at the Red House at Ventana.
Okay. You had just broken up with him the night before, right?
The afternoon before.
The afternoon before. Did you find it strange that the morning after your breakup?
Congratulations,
or the
been there,
morning-
done
yes, the
that.
morning after your breakup,
Landing a new job.
this man's on the phone with you trying to have dirty talk?
I felt it was strange, but also
I will have Gosney's links in the description
I
below
really had
after
those
the
self-esteem
stream
at this time.
ends.
It made me feel better, actually.
Boy, I'll tell you, you know what? She's an interesting character. I've never seen her speak. And first of all, she seems very in control. And, human beings are very bad at detecting deception. Oh boy, she is a trap. This kind of goes, she's smart, and she's very used to getting people to believe her, whatever she says.
Yeah.
And you can almost see the narcissism coming through, and it's difficult because, boy, a pretty face will conceal a lot of deception, and people will overlook so much, and that dark, evil streak that's in there. She reminds me of a couple people that I know.
Her previous relationship before Travis was with a man twice her age. She was 21 at the time. He was 41 or something like that. They had a 6 or 7 year relationship. He bought her a house. He bought her breast enlargement. She worked occasionally on a fast food joint. And
can
but
I ask, you've been watching this, what is the motive, the alleged motive for her to murder this guy?
rejection.
But she actively went to his house because they were broken up. Why did she?
They kept seeing each other, but he supposedly had actually moved on and started seriously dating somebody else.
So it's possession. It's the fact if she doesn't want the rejection. She's not used to getting rejection. She's used to getting whatever she wants.
Yeah,
And
she's
he's
used to.
her.
If anybody breaks up, it's her, because she's moving on, and so that would be, she just couldn't handle the rejection. And they kept seeing each other after they broke up, but apparently, since she moved away, he started to redate within the Mormon church. But then she showed up unannounced that day of the murder. There are suggestions that there are pictures from that night with both them naked. There are no timestamps on it, so we don't know. Just that the photos are consecutive in the, not in the reel, but on the ship. So apparently, according to the prosecution, they had a banger of sex. Those pictures, by the way, was entered into evidence. And the Law and Crime, or Court TV, or whoever transmitted it, the technician was supposed to take away the video and only have audio, but he switched it, so it was only video, no audio. So in the stream on day 6, part 2, with me and David, they are entering all of Jodi Arias into evidence live on stream.
It's just amazing when you look at this person talk, and you know what she did.
Yeah.
And it just is incongruent. I mean, this I can see why this was a big media case.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating on a number of levels. I mean, she's articulate. She's obviously a deceiver. Yeah. But it doesn't come, it's and so plumbing, like when you're trying to put together that crime and the way she's presenting herself here, there's an incongruence that's just hard to comprehend. This is the thing. I mean, it puzzles us. So human beings have naturally evolved to be excellent deceivers. And so therefore, and we want to detect deception. And obviously she's being very deceptive here in a number of ways, but how can you detect it? How you look at this person, you're like, I mean, as a man, protecting yourself against this kind of like Black Widow type of woman.
Yeah.
You're intrigued. You're like, I got to figure this out, so I don't get the axe.
Yeah. And I mean, she's been 10 years in prison, who normally takes a number and a toll on you. She still looks good. She looks like...
And beauty is a mask that it overlays, that it deceives us. And this is, it's another deception. I see Flux. She's a true cold killer. And boy, I saw the photos that if people want to Google the photos of the guy in the shower, when he comes and he's just like, hello? And then he's dead 40 seconds later. That's a cold, calculated attack.
Yeah. And I see here, Jodi Arias is 5'5", 115 pounds. I mean,
she's a well-trimmed woman. So she's got a lot of things going for her. But so why would somebody like this, who's probably got privilege laid at her feet, why would she murder somebody?
Yeah. I mean, she could have easily just moved on to the next sucker. But somehow she couldn't handle the reaction from this guy.
And I think that women, as a general rule, don't have the same experience of rejection that most men do. A good-looking woman, especially, is not going to have experience with rejection. And so it's a difficult thing to have to deal with. And, men have to deal with it all the time. So we're a little more experienced with this. But so I would, maybe put, like you said, she's used to getting what she wants, and she's the one that does the breaking up. And it's almost an insult to her that this guy doesn't want her or wants to move on.
Yeah.
But
And she, every time, and in every breakup, she has the next guy lined up. All of a sudden, there she is, 26, and she doesn't have a new guy lined up. Well, she did go on dates and had sort of boyfriend, but the prosecution argued that was an alibi boyfriend. That everything was so planned out, from the gas tanks to avoid filling up the car, to renting the car, to actively avoiding, actively inserting herself as I just want to bring you the information I have. And she's very calm and collective at every point, up until she has to have an explanation to why she actually was there. Then the facade starts to, in the interviews, you see the facade starts to, but not a tear, at least not nothing more than crocodile tears.
Check out Jessica Falcon Metcalf's comment. Yeah, that's really, see, this is interesting, and this is why it's intriguing. And I love hearing what women have to say about this, because men are clueless in a lot of ways. So someone that tries to like everything that you like, someone that has no personality of their own other than yours, jealous and acts timid when around others, but not when with you. All red flags. That's really good. That's really good observation.
Yeah, because she converted into Mormonism for him.
Yeah, it's tough, because don't you want to have a partner who is interested in the things you were, but that not having their own personality, and see, that's where the rejection becomes a rejection of everything that she is. Look, I've given you everything. I've changed my personality. I've molded myself to be like you, and yet you are rejecting me. It becomes, my identity is you. There is no outside identity. So I can see how that's, Jessica's a very good insight there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. Well, what you do in the chat, I can't. It's extremely illegal in Sweden. There's a mandatory 6-month prison sentence for the possession of 1 gram of cannabis in Sweden. So we are turning into North Korea here. On that department, at least. But let's... we have 50 minutes of streaming time and 10 minutes of testimony. That's... Yeah, but... thank you, Steve, for providing damn good knowledge about all of this, because I'm Swedish. I'm still a lifelong learner of law, and US law is still quite new to me, so I will soak in every piece of information I can get.
And there's a legal overview here, but see, this is a lot more than law. I mean, it is condensed into a trial, and we're doing criminal law here. But one of the things is that it's a human business. It's very people oriented, and the engagement that we're doing here is we're trying to figure out the parties, the whys, the story. Anybody can do that. This is not like lawyers don't have any special insight into that. They have mechanical insights into the way the trial operates. But I love hearing from somebody like Jessica, who has some insights as a female into this type of personality, because that's just what we're dealing with. Like, why would somebody do this, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, he had made promises to change. He said those women didn't mean anything, that kind of thing.
Nothing off the cross.
So,
So he told you those women didn't matter, and you did? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying, why you felt good about it?
yes, he said, I swear I'll change, just give me a chance. So this was I don't know, I still loved him, and so I thought that he was serious about changing. And so I continue to be intimate with him.
Well, let's not get too past the phone call right now. You say you continue to be intimate with him.
And then you have this with StreamYard and YouTube not talking to each other, so it starts to buffer, even though you can clearly see down there on the, it is buffered minutes ahead. And thank you to Wesley Hoke for gifting 10 MLS memberships. And for you who received it over at David's channel, he also has members-only content, and there will be a link for you to his Discord. And the same goes for me. We both have that $3 a month, and you get members-only content if you choose to become a member on my channel, and you also get a link to my Discord.
And I am just a part-timer and don't have any specialized member content at all. So, just, but I will say that tonight I'm going to be actually at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will have an interview with the lawyer, Peter Tragos, and who's going to be coming on my channel to talk about personal injury law, civil litigation, God, and all kinds of stuff. So we'll have a nice conversation. So do come over to Rumble, SteveGosby.com, and that stuff.
Yeah, and later today I will cover the Murdoch will have a press conference today about the apparently newly found evidence that might be damning, actually, because they Salvador Dali already told us that on my last stream that they are accusing the county clerk for trying to affect the jury to a verdict.
Good. Well, I think that was not a good. That was a miscarriage there. I don't think the guy was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and I'd like to. And I did not like the way that the judge conducted that trial. I mean, he's going to go away for life without parole. The problem is I think there's a murderer on the loose in South Carolina that got away with it. So that's my problem.
Yeah, one or several, depending on which theory you believe in. Either there was drug related, which I find more compelling, that this was some kind of debt or anything of that sort that made one or two hired guns to more or less execute two people. But if there are more than one probable theory, then it's reasonable doubt. And then you have the cell phone data and car data that they simply weren't at the same spot. And it's in evidence. But he is a genuinely horrible human being. And for that, he was convicted.
Right. Well, and there's this thing. It's hard to get up there and say, I lied about this. I lied about that. I think the state cross of him was very difficult because all they did was just show what a liar he was. It's like, well, I'm lying about all these thefts. But for him to kill, there's a difference between a thief and a murderer.
Yeah. And why, if he was trying to deflect, his dad was already dying, his mom was there, why the love of his life and his favorite son? That's, yeah. But so I will cover that later today. I need a break to have some food in me and everything. I think the press conference starts 2:30 South Carolina time, which is Eastern time, I think. So that would be 8:30 my time. So I will continue for a bit so we can get a bit of testimony into this, even after Mr. Gosney has to, his lunch hour is over.
Yeah, my lunch hour is almost done. See, I wanted to, well, actually, I guess you want my commentary here rather than holding hands. But, I really thank you for inviting me on. And I like you said, I'm going to be on tonight at 6 p.m. I'm going to be on with Excited Utterance. And then at 8 p.m. I'll be on my channels having a nice long in-depth live stream with the lawyer Peter Tragos. Yeah. So please do show up for that tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do need to get back to work. I'm Yeah, people just so that want to know. Here, I'll show you what it looks like where I am, because people are interested in this stuff, what a death penalty appeal looks like. So I have it broken out at this point into two parts. This is the death penalty appeal, everything that's done. You see here, see there. This is the specific case, and then this piece, which is about 65 pages here, is the one that I'm now going forward working at. And what I am, this entire merit point will be included into this brief once I get it done. But this is a merit point that, if successful, will find the Florida's death penalty statute unconstitutional. So my job right now is to write a brief to explain to the U.S. Supreme Court why Florida's death penalty scheme is unconstitutional. And that's what I'm working on now, and I will be for the next month, basically. I have everything else in the brief done, which is also a big, heavy lift, but that's what I'm doing. So that's my real job, and I got to get back to work to do that. So
yeah, and just for information, my Serial Killer Sunday, I have about 3 weeks left of the Jeffrey Dahmer trial. Then next trial I will be covering is the Eileen Warnes. And hopefully I can time it so Mr. Steve Gosney can join me on a few of those, because Mr. Gosney, you seem to have some special information that you may or may not can provide to us. But
well, no, actually, yeah, I'm not sure. I have a lot to provide on that, because Eileen Warnos was local, and she actually disposed of one of the bodies right up the street from where I was. And I drive by her bar occasionally. The lead prosecutor who prosecuted and got the first death penalty was the guy that hired me into the prosecutor's office, a fellow named John Tanner, who was a real force around here. And in our office, like I said, I do death penalty appeals. One of my immediate predecessors in this office, who was 2 doors across the street here, two doors down from me in this office, he handled the Eileen Warnos direct appeal, death penalty appeal. So we have, and I know the judge in that case. So and I know some of the other prosecution teams. So I know a lot about the Eileen Warnos case. I don't know how much it's revelatory, but it's a local case for us. I know it's a big case, internationally and nationally and internationally. It's an interesting, and she's a fascinating, just like this woman, this Jodi Arias is a very curious.
And one stream that I have in the works that aren't done yet is about Lori Daybell Wallow, who was convicted for the murder of her son and daughter. She was that cult leader figure who is now in a female penitentiary for life. And I will argue on that stream that she is probably more dangerous now than ever.
Well, people are telling me that the Excited Utterance streams at 6:30. So what do I know?
Yeah.
I have to get back to work. But hey, man, it's great to see you, Nick. You're always a joy to be with, and thank you for inviting me on. Let me do my commentary thing. I don't know. I hope people like it. It is what it is.
Yeah, but thank you so much for showing up and filling in for David. I love having you on, and if our schedules match up, I hope I can be on your stream sometime. And Eileen try. Yeah, we have so much fun.
I know. The thing is that I'm actually streaming less. I've got so many irons in the fire right now. So but let's just leave it and say Auf Wiedersehen, and God bless you, and I will see you soon.
See you soon, Dave. See you soon, Steve. Thank you so much for showing up. All right. That was an hour of streaming and 11 minutes of testimony. But I don't mind. I love having Steve on. He provides us with great commentary, great insights, everything. So I really, really enjoy having him on. But we are supposed to be here for this. So let's listen to 20 odd minutes of this trial. Before I let you all go, I haven't set up my next stream. I will do so, but I have nowhere actually to redirect you to. I can only hope that you are subscribed to me, subscribed to David, so once that stream is up, you will find it yourselves. But let's listen more to Jodi Arias.
Did you reciprocate the sexual tone of the conversation that you had with him the day after you broke up?
At first, I didn't really know what to
I
say
don't eat cereals.
because he had.
I eat
It's not his
oatmeal
objection, Your Honor.
porridge.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Ask another question.
Were you, the day after you broke up with him, was it your hope, oh, I hope Travis calls me and talks dirty to me?
No, I wasn't thinking that.
When he did start talking dirty to you, why not hang up the phone?
I wouldn't have hung up on him. He wasn't being mean or anything.
What's that?
He wasn't being mean or anything.
Yeah, seriously, folks. There are combined 150 people watching on my and David's stream. Please hit that like button. It really, really means a lot to our channels that you do. Please do. Thank you.
But you just found out he was cheating and you broke up with him. Why even talk to the guy, Jodi?
He promised to change, and I still loved him.
Let me back up again, and you might have already answered my question with what you just said, but why even pick up the phone to begin with?
I don't know. I guess it was habit. His ringtone came through. His little picture was on the screen. I wasn't going to ignore the call.
So you have this conversation. He tells you he's going to change. And from what you told us, it sounded like you said you started feeling good about yourself based on this conversation?
Yeah, it made me feel good that he still desired me and claimed that he didn't really care about anybody else, just me. So I believed him.
What sort of things did he say that made you feel this way? Was there specific things?
Objection.
Objection. Here's what specific things did he tell you?
Overruled.
I honestly don't remember specifics. He just was saying very nice things to me, and they were erotic, and they made me feel sexy, they made me feel attractive. So I stayed on the phone with him.
Okay. Now, if we understand correctly, you're in Riverside, or excuse me, he's in Riverside, you're in Big Sur when this phone conversation took place. Do you understand, right?
I think he was in Temecula, but somewhere in Southern California. He was still in Southern California.
After this conversation, what is the next contact you have with him? Are you talking on the phone? Do you see each other in person?
We pick up the routine again when he calls me at night, and his calls began getting very late, almost to 4 a.m. So I just went to sleep and then waited for him to call.
So after you break up, are you back together again? You said it's the same old routine. Are you back together again? You say, okay, we're boyfriend and girlfriend again?
We are talking about trying it again, but we are not back together again.
When he's wooing you back on this conversation over the course of these weeks, is he then telling you that he loves you?
Yes.
Does he ever talk about, after this breakup, does he talk about a future with you, marriage, children, things of that nature?
Yes, he still talked about that frequently, more in a joking manner, but it came up a lot.
At this point in time, after this breakup and these calls, are you still seeing the potential of a future with Mr. Alexander in that regard?
Yes, I believed he had the potential to change.
And you hoped he would, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you talk about this same old routine and these calls are getting later. What time are we talking these calls are happening now?
Definitely after midnight, 2, 3, 4 a.m., depending on the night.
And are these calls also sexual in nature?
No, they're more just loving, actually.
And what do you mean by loving? Describe what you mean by that.
Oh, I have 2,597 subscribers, 3 away from 2,600. Can we make that happen during this stream? If you haven't subscribed yet, or if you think you are subscribed, just check and see if you're still subscribed, because sometimes YouTube does this when they unsubscribe you. So if you just could check that out, I would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
He was acting more like the same guy I fell in love with, and he was just being very sweet and wanted to know about my day, told me funny things about his day. And when he talked about the future, he kept saying we or us, things like that.
And nothing sexual in these calls?
No, I don't think so.
How long then until you were back on the hook, so to speak? Hook, line, and sinker, back in love with Travis. Did you ever fall off that hook?
Not during that time, I didn't. I mean, further down the road I did, but at this point I was still in love with him.
And this is about when in 2007? June?
Dinged! 2600. Thank you so much, folk. Thank you so much for subscribing to me. This channel is it's growing, and it is really, really nice to see it growing. That means I can focus more and more on channel content, and YouTube might pick me up. The YouTube algorithm will pick me up, and some more people will see everything. So, yay, 2600. Yay! Thank you so much, everybody.
July?
We're into early July right now.
How long, when was your job at Big Sur done for the season?
Well, it could have gone on the entire year. That season was very slow that summer. I picked up another job at the Big Sur Bakery to supplement my income. And business was just slow all over in Big Sur that season.
So you say you could have stayed on year round. Did you decide to?
No.
Why not? Is it the financial reasons or were there others?
Financially, it would have made more sense to stay there, but there was another more compelling reason to move.
Time, ladies and gentlemen, please be back to the jury room by 1:25. Please remember the admonition. You are excused.
All right. That means we are up to morning break. That would actually be a good time, because Tuesdays are the shorter stream, Saturdays is the longer streams. So on Saturday, I will meet you all back here for this trial. I hope I will see as many as possible on this afternoon stream when the Murdoch press conference, which I don't know on which channels will stream it, but I will find it and I will stream it to you with my commentary. Thank you, Crispy, but I have to not take you up on that offer. Oh, all right. And so either way, I will have a stream up for that in about an hour and 20 minutes. I haven't set it up yet. I'm sure you will find other ways to entertain yourselves meanwhile, but I have to have some dinner inside of me before that. And I will also, if I'm still awake, I will join Excited Utterance on her stream about a dingo ate my baby stream. All right. But again, thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for David, thanks you for gifting the memberships. And in the like department, I think I won this time. We have a friendly, sometimes contest about likes, but he won in the monetization department because he got 10 memberships. So thank you all for showing up. I will see you later, I hope. But until then, have a nice day. Talk to you later.